So we'll wrap things up here with a program that we've been really excited about this offseason as Dan Mullen has come into UNLV as the new coach in Las Vegas. And they've had a nice run of portal pickups here over the last week or so. And we'll start with the quarterback position. Anthony Colandrea coming over from UVA. This move actually happened more than a week ago, but this is again, I call it the headliner for this class right now. I think he's going to be really interesting in a Dan Mullen offense. Not the biggest quarterback in the world, 6 foot, 183 pounds from St. Petersburg in Florida. Originally has a couple years of eligibility remaining and was with UVA the last couple seasons. UVA didn't have a great year, 5-7. But this is a guy who he's a bit of a jitterbug out there, man. And he's got a bit of athletic ability, can spray the ball over the field, but someone in a Dan Mullen offense that I think could have a lot of success.
Yeah, look, you're bringing a gambler to Las Vegas, man, because that's what this guy is. He is a big play machine, super fun to watch. You look at last year, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I just don't think it was a fit there with Tony Elliott. The team didn't have a great year, 5-7. But this is a guy who's extremely creative. He's always in attack mode. He throws some crazy passes across the field. Great vision. I mean, you wouldn't think that necessarily with the amount of picks he's had, but he really sees things before they happen. Maybe that's part of the reason he gets in trouble sometimes, is because he gets, he starts believing he can do anything out there. But he's very athletic. He's not someone who's going to run to run. He will run to throw. Has had some crazy moments, some big plays. Had a game where he took off his helmet after scoring a tying 2-point conversion against NC State and got a 15-yard penalty. The other team ended up going down the field and scoring and winning the game. Kind of a questionable call, I thought. But this is someone who's going to be fun to watch if you're a UNLV fan. And I think the hope is someone like Dan Mullen can tone down some of the wilder stuff without killing the instincts of the player and just bring out the best in him. I always go back to this quote from John Thompson, former head coach of Georgetown basketball, and he said, "I can calm down a fool, but I can't wake up a corpse." So you can get a guy like this and rein him in a little bit and make them smarter, make the game easier for him. But the instincts, the playmaking, the athletic ability, that's hard to teach. And I think this is some guy who's not afraid to pull the trigger.
They went out and got him a little bit of help offensively as well, as JoJo Earle, former 5-star recruit, started his career at Alabama, was at TCU last year. His career hasn't exactly taken off, as you see here, 47 career receptions, but really explosive, speedy guy. And we mentioned as they picked up a running back a couple weeks ago that Kadarius Toney, that name kind of came to mind, and how Mullen is able to get the most out of his offensive weapons and really highlight their skill set, right? This is a guy in JoJo Earle that not the same player as Toney, but again, you start to see some of these pieces that they're adding around the quarterback position, and you say, man, you might be able to navigate this schedule, as a G5 team next year.
Yeah, with Earle, probably quicker than fast, I would say. Great lateral quicks. He played in the backfield at times, which is why I think the Toney comparison makes sense. Not to say he's going to be as good as Toney. I'm just saying the way he's going to be used as someone who can line up in the backfield, someone who can create mismatches. You can hand the ball to him on occasion, but you're going to major in passing with him, splitting him out and moving him around and letting him get open with his quickness. But I think that's sort of how he's built. He's not the longest guy in the world. He's kind of smaller, put on some muscle. He was skinnier when he arrived at Alabama. So he's stocky guy. I think that's really going to be the blueprint for an Earle. And, he was in the SEC. Then he moved to the Big 12. Level of competition is going to be a lot more favorable to him and more similar to what he had in high school. Obviously, it's not high school competition, but when he was playing against athletes that maybe weren't as big and fast, his ability to make guys miss, his ability to make plays, that really played up because he can make bad tacklers look really bad. And I think going down a level is going to augment that ability because he can. It's hard to make some of these SEC defensive players look bad with his lateral quicks, but you go down a couple levels, it's going to be a lot more evident the quickness that made him a top 50 recruit.
all these shiny toys are nice, but they mean nothing if you don't have the guys up front. And that they added that with Ben Christman, a guy who obviously has a size of 6'6", 325, was a big recruit coming out of high school, signed with Ohio State, then was at Kentucky in 2023 and 2024, was hurt, did not really play much this year. But at the O-line, man, you're looking at these body types, you're looking at the athletic ability, and Christman, he has that. He hasn't been healthy, hasn't been on the field necessarily, but if they can kind of work him back to that, then you've got a nice one here.
Yeah, you're talking about the size, the high school pedigree, play at Ohio State, played at Kentucky. Obviously didn't play much on the field, but he was in practice. He was working and adjusting to that speed. And I think, again, you move him down a level, that size becomes a much bigger difference maker because the players he's blocking are smaller and they're not going to be as athletic to expose maybe some of the athletic limitations that he has. So you see Dan Mullen, to me, getting pedigree with some of these guys. If you look at, again, ACC transfer, starting quarterback from the ACC transfer, SEC to Big Ten, or sorry, Big Ten to SEC, then SEC to Big 12, big recruits. So he's adding pedigree to the room, and I think he's just having a lot of confidence that he can get the most out of these guys as being one of the premier play callers in college football. Of course, all three guys on the offensive side of the ball, we know he's thinking about scoring a lot of points.